Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode, okay? So today's topic, we want to talk about self-concept. And so let's start off with this great quote here. It says, change your conception of yourself and you will automatically change the world in which you live. Neville Goddard.
Okay.
Is it facts or is it cap?
It's definitely caps. I mean,
We're capping on the fact and facting on the cap. It's facts.
it's facts, y'all. I was just kidding, making sure y'all listened in.
Pay attention now.
So there are two aspects of the self-concept, okay? We have the existential self, and then we have the categorical self. Existential self is, more realizing that, all right, we're not the only people here. There's others here, okay?
Yeah.
Realizing aliens exist. That's a sense of existential self.
Okay.
And then you have your categorical self, like, okay, well, how do you fit into this experience? Or, well, I have blue eyes, I have green eyes, I'm tall, I'm short. Things like that are more categorical self. But generally speaking, we're just going to go over self-concept, and it's going to incorporate both existential and categorical self as we go over it.
Okay.
So
we're going to break it down for y'all.
Yeah.
So now with that being said, self-concept is going to do with three things, okay? The first one is your self-image. Now your self-image is, of course, how you perceive and how you see yourself. Okay, so we're talking about, like you said, physical attributes when you look in the mirror, right?
Yeah.
Am I tall, short, okay, blue eyes, green eyes, skinny, fat? So things like that, okay? Your personality traits.
Yes, and keep in mind that your self-image might not always be, reality per se.
Okay, what you actually see.
Right,
Yeah.
because we have our little, mind tricks that we play with ourselves, like, anorexia, things like that. Will have you see something that's totally not there. So keep that in mind too.
Exactly, and it's gonna be your abilities, your flaws that you perceive for yourself, right? And the self-concept is, based on your experiences. As a short girl, you have a experience that's different than a tall girl, and she'll let you know all about it. I'm sure. Okay, and the feedbacks you receive from others. Sometimes feedbacks helps us, get that self-awareness. You don't know you're a fast walker until someone tells you, like, damn, you're walking so fast. Now you be like, okay, I guess I'm a fast walker.
Okay.
So now we also have the ideal image. Now the ideal image, right, is the vision or concept of what you aspire to be. So as you wish to appear to others. All right. So now this part here is often influenced by your society, the cultural norms around us, right? What they think is in and what's out. So now you have that ideal image based off that. Okay, it not only does it do your physical attributes as well, but it also puts in your achievements, your self-aspirations, your goals that you want to achieve, even your values and what you admire.
Right.
Okay, so because it's the ideal image, it is, it represents your goals, like I said, and it gives you room for that self-improvement.
Yes, and that goes into self-esteem, guys, which is the third part of self-concept here. Your self-esteem deals more with, the values about yourself, how you value yourself, your feelings about yourself, and things like that. For example, it's going to be obvious when someone is carrying a higher self-esteem versus a lower self-esteem, okay? Because if you have higher self-esteem, you have self-confidence, you have self-acceptance, and, you're very optimistic about the world, and you often do not care about what others think about you, right? Versus somebody who has low self-esteem is going to have the very opposite attributes. Like, you're going to care so much about what other people think about you, that you might wish you were someone else. You're going to want to be anyone else but yourself, okay?
Yeah.
Or the ideal person you want to be, versus making yourself that ideal person. And you're going to be often pessimistic about the world. And I'm gonna be careful with y'all, because Pessimistic people, they'll swear that they're realists.
Okay,
you know,
they hide under the realist cloak,
okay.
but it's mostly
but
pessimist.
it's really just because you have low self-esteem. You know, and that's why you have a negative outlook of the world and yourself. Okay, and all that plays, you know, and the difference is when it comes to self-esteem. It's obvious and it shows. You wear it like clothes, basically.
Yeah, and so now that we have an idea of what self-concept is, right? We're gonna figure out like, well, why is it so important?
Right.
Why is it a big deal? Okay, listen, y'all, because it's really crucial, because it's obviously how you perceive and interact with the world.
Yes.
As in those that exist apart from you, the outsiders, right? It influences your well-being. You know, people with more positive or stronger self-concept,
yes,
they are more likely to bounce back from when things happens to them, right?
Okay.
They have, because his self-concept ideally is that foundation. So because it is the foundation of everything, right? You want to make sure it's strong and structured, because then nothing can really shake it.
Exactly.
So you have a strong self-concept to fall back on, versus somebody who has a weaker or negative self-concept. When something happens to them, right? Like you could see it, even themselves, they blow it out of proportion.
Okay.
You start seeing their veins popping out from their faces. They're all like, woe is me, victimized, person.
Poor me. All that shows. And, when it comes to the importance of your self-concept and how you see yourself and how you fit in, all that plays an important role. I mean, you ever think about certain opportunities that you take versus the opportunities you don't take? What is usually the difference? Is it not your self-confidence? Is it not your self-concept? Where you start to feel like, well, do I deserve this, or do I want this? Could I take on the responsibilities? Am I fit enough for this job? All that plays in your self-concept. And you'll find that people with a higher self-concept are gonna go for the higher paying jobs, because they feel like they deserve it, honey, versus the ones who feel like, oh, I ain't all that, but I can shoot for this. Oh, come on now. Like, we need to change that.
Yeah.
It's important to look into your self-concept.
Exactly. And speaking of changing it, well, now you figured out you have a weak self-concept. Damn, I'm sorry. But we can help you, okay? We will give you some practical tips on really how to change that. How do we change that whole being so you could be that ideal version that you see yourself to be?
Yeah, and as far as changing it, the first thing I'm going to tell you guys is to dive in deep, dive in inward, so you can figure out, where did it start, your low self-concept, you know what I mean? And perhaps it started at a time when you didn't have any control, like you're a baby, a kid, and the parenting styles that, your parents raised you with weren't so, I don't know, they didn't help you as far as like building a higher self-concept. That's why it's important, parents, with children, how you treat your kids, how you raise them. And I'm not gonna tell you how, because I'm not a coach on how to raise children. I don't have children myself. But I do know enough to say that how you interact with your child is going to set them up for what they accept in the social world, right? In life. And that's going to be a direct reflection of their self-concept. Whether they have low self-esteem or high self-esteem, what they think they deserve versus what they don't think they deserve, And of course, have your therapist, guys. Have your therapist handy, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you need somebody to be able to fact check those negative thoughts about yourself, you know what I mean? To get an outside perspective of why you are thinking the way you're thinking, where it might be coming from. Because, when you are the person that's being analyzed, it might be hard to figure out the root cause of the problem. Not to mention, because we did bring up some information regarding your chakras, right? A couple episodes back, and we'll have it tagged on this video for you. But we literally talk about the chakras and how it relates to emotional and physical well-being, okay? And your sacral chakra is going to deal with things like social integration, or self-worth. And then your solar plexus chakra is going to deal with your ego, personal power, and things like that. So perhaps those chakras or energy centers are not balanced. Lucky for you, We tell you exactly how to balance it.
Okay, definitely. We'll put the video like you said. So go check out that video and come back to this one or finish watching this one. It's up to you.
Right.
So some other tips on how to really change that self-concept, right, is going to be visualizing your new self-concept. So think about it like a video game that you're playing, you know, Sims. You know, when you first start out, what do they let you do? You know, you pick out the skin tone, you pick out the eyes, the eyebrows, the shape, the size. All of that is like part of that self-concept. So when you're creating that new one, I want you to go into details exactly who you want to be. If you're a person, if you want to lose some weight, okay, imagine yourself already as that weight you want to be, that ideal weight. Okay, what would that person with that ideal weight be eating?
Okay,
what's their habit? What's their, you know, like what are their hobbies? Things like that. Like, I want you to visualize that into all your details. Okay, like that person when that person walks in the room, what do they look like? How do they dress? How do they smell like? Okay, so now that we visualize that self-concept into very, very, you know, very detailed perspective of that self-concept, now you got this image, right? That vision board of who that person is, that ideal self. Now you got to embody that self. And that's scary for some people because now you go from wanting to being.
Right.
So now you are that person. Well, how would that person act? Okay, say you want to be a chef. You've put that whole visualization out there. Now you have your ingredients. Well, what does a chef do? Cook it up.
They be cooking in there, okay?
So go ahead and go out there and cook, you know? Live that chef lifestyle. Like, what are they doing most of the time in the kitchen, prepping ingredients, whatever the case is. You got to now embody that lifestyle. And say that it's you. Don't create that doubt now or that resistance because the mind already knows that this is you now. That new self-concept. And part of the hardest thing that's gonna be after you visualize it and you embody that self-concept, this is where a lot of you guys are gonna fall short because it's like, yeah, I did one, I did two. Well, this one is being persistent. You gotta persist. You gotta go because your mind's gonna tell you, well, who you not that. You not
who you
that.
think you is?
You not,
who you think
you
you're trying to be?
Like that for real.
For real, it's going to try to bring you back to your old self because oftentimes, you know, your mind doesn't like the change because then it has to create new habits. It has to create new, you know, thought patterns that match with this new lifestyle of yours. And it's going to take a lot of mental power.
It is. Okay, but you gotta be persistent about it. Like, it's not gonna change in the first few days, the first few weeks even. But you have to show God, source, the universe, yourself too, that you are that new person. Okay, you don't go up to like, oh, I want to be. You just, I am. Okay, and
period.
Exactly. Make it be done at that. So, I mean, we hope that some of these tips can help you, like, if you have that negative self-concept, because your self-concept ideally is what is going to help bring your desires to you. In 3D.
Okay, it's going to make your wants, everything that you want to manifest, to come into reality. Because if, you know, anything that you've ever wanted, and it was so close to happening and you don't get it, it's probably because you were doubting yourself along the way. At some point, you felt like it wasn't going to happen, and that's exactly what happened, you know? It plays a huge role when it comes to manifesting your dream life and things like that, because it starts with changing the self. And in a sense, too, that's how we change the world. If we change every single individual person in it, now we have a new world.
Okay.
All right?
Exactly. And we want you to be out there shining in all your glory and your highest self-image of your self-concept.
Okay.
Right? So go ahead and, you know, like and subscribe if you have not already. We do drop videos like this every single week. All right. Hit that bell.
Seriously, hit that bell
notification, okay? Because you don't want to miss the content that we drop. And lastly, let us know about your self-concept. You know, how was that journey like for you? Okay, you know, give us some tips that we may not have mentioned, or what helped you, or will maybe help others. You never know.
Embody that new person.
Okay,
embody that new ideal self. How did you do it?
It ain't easy because a lot of people don't do it, but we believe in you. We know you can.
Okay.
So we'll see you guys next week, okay? Bye.